what can the diaspora do in terms of where this whole AI revolution is going? How do you see that participation? How do you see that activation coming into focus?
Look, we have in America, I just saw something recently that African American women, black women in America, are the most educated. They have the most advanced degrees of any other uh, group. But for what? Right? Are we is the black community's problems being solved in a meaningful way, and in particularly in technology, because of this? We hear talks about how many Nigerian doctors and lawyers there are. I think I saw Akon said a few years ago that Nigerians are the smartest people, at least in Africa. Um, but we want those doctors to make the Nigerian healthcare system better. We want those engineers to keep the light on in Nigeria. That's infrastructure, so that the brilliance of Nigeria can be um, realized, so that the brilliance of the African American community can be realized, that the brilliance of the entire African world can be realized and utilized to solve our problems and the world's problems. Right? This is our promise, I think, to the promise that African humanity has, is that if it's fully developed and utilized, we can help solve a greater deal of the world's problems. The first thing we have to do, Osei, is get organized in the diaspora. And we have to start going back to the continent and building bridges across the Atlantic, into the Caribbean, into Latin America. Especially, there's hundreds of millions of black people in South America. We have to connect them into the conversation. We have to start moving around the globe intentionally, not just to go on vacation. That's cool, but we need to start intentionally going to find people of with the same mindset as we have, that we're talking about now, that have a shared sense of our place in the world, of our unique position as it relates to the gap that exists between us and other people technologically in other areas as well, and build organizational structures. And by that I mean, how do we start to create incubation companies and spaces in Atlanta, in Accra, in Kingston, in other places, in all points between, to connect the best in class. Those of us in the West are more exposed and are likely to have better training as it relates to this technology that we're talking about. We can bring that to our communities, even here in America, as well as bring it to our folks in the continent of Africa, in the Caribbean, in South and Central America. And there are also folks there with brilliant solutions, brilliant companies and innovations that are in their initial nascent stages, that we can also help them bring back to the West, so that there is a seamless commercial integration and commercial intercourse that takes place within the African diaspora. But I think it begins with training. We have to start training regimen that scale up our people's knowledge and expertise in this technology. We should make it a commitment, a goal, to say that within the next 10 years, as I've said before, we want to train 1 million leading technologists. Not us personally, but we want to bring and organize the resources, the know-how, the platform, institutions, and organizations together to train this group, keep this group together, and to support and counsel and advise and provide the kind of structure that this group needs to close the gap. And so for us, step one is the training and the education that needs to take place.